Okay, so we were doing entropy and we were realizing that measures the amount of disorder in the system,
Yeah.
amount of disorder in the system. And once you have an understanding of this entropy, it is measured in this way K, ln W, right? Where
Yeah.
K is a constant, Boltzmann constant,
Volts.
and W is the number of ways you can achieve that system, number of ways in which the system can exist.
Yeah.
The system can exist. Now, what happens is there is a second law of thermodynamics, which states that uh, the total entropy of the universe must increase. The total entropy of the universe must increase. Only those processes are allowed, basically.
Mm.
The processes that will
Yeah.
actually happen are the ones which increase total entropy of the universe. Okay.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, you
Yeah.
cannot see a process where total entropy has decreased. Okay. So
Yeah.
then this precludes the possibility of some of the events happening, like a stone rising from the ground and going up and whatnot, things like that, which are theoretically still allowed by first law. First law is conservation of energy. Conservation of energy
Yeah.
Yeah.
allows for the possibility of weird things happening which never happen, because those weird things happening, they don't happen because they violate the second law of thermodynamics, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so now what we will look at is, suppose there is a system and there are two things, right? Two things. There are two concepts that we have heard of. We have heard of enthalpy and we have heard of entropy,
Yeah.
right? So second law says that delta S is greater than zero for the universe, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So delta S is change in entropy. Entropy should increase, right? Now,
Mm.
if you think
Yeah.
of a system and think of these two processes, enthalpy and entropy, now let's say we supply some heat to it, right?
Yeah.
So here enthalpy, delta H, is positive,
Yeah.
right? Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enthalpy is positive, and entropy should be also positive, no? If you supply heat to a
Positive.
system, it will become more disordered, right?
Yeah.
It will gain
Yes.
temperature, so random motions will increase, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So it
Yes.
should be positive. Now notice one thing, that on its own, this reaction would not have happened, this endothermic reaction, no?
Yeah.
Reactions
Yeah. Yeah.
that happen which are endothermic basically are not spontaneous, right? You have to give energy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So it looks like a non-spontaneous reaction,
Mm.
non-spontaneous endothermic reaction, and entropy is increasing, which looks like a spontaneous tendency, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that enthalpy and entropy are opposites of each other in terms of
Mm.
spontaneity, right?
Yeah.
Here there is a non-spontaneous reaction where it non-spontaneous in the sense that enthalpy is positive,
Positive.
but
Yeah.
spontaneous in the sense that entropy is positive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Entropy positive should mean spontaneous, right?
Mm.
And enthalpy negative should also mean spontaneous. Oh no, should mean non-spontaneous, right? Enthalpy positive should
Positive.
mean
Yeah. Positive is positive.
okay, so I should have written it like spontaneous process would have been enthalpy negative, no? Exothermic. Uh,
Yeah.
Correct thing I
Yeah.
was writing.
Yeah.
So spontaneous processes would mean generally exothermic reactions
Mm.
or more entropy, right?
Yeah.
So notice here, however, that if you supply energy, this is positive and this is positive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they look like they are opposites. No, enthalpy when it is negative, then it is spontaneous, and this is positive when then it is spontaneous, right?
Yes.
Correct. So these factors are technically opposing factors, right?
Yeah.
Okay, these factors are slightly opposing factors. So people, there was a scientist called Joss Willard Gibbs. He discovered something called a quantity called Gibbs free energy. Gibbs free energy. I mean, he just didn't discover it; he made it. He defined it. Gibbs free energy is defined as delta H minus T delta S.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this quantity is good, is useful, because this is one way in which we can describe whether something is spontaneous, describe whether reaction is spontaneous or non-spontaneous. It takes into account both the factors, right?
Yeah.
You have to worry about both enthalpy and entropy when you have to decide this non-spontaneous, spontaneous stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this takes into account both of those factors and connects the two, and they are connected by the temperature. So this will explain a lot. So what this means is, if delta G is less than 0, process is spontaneous. It will happen on its own if delta G is less than 0. This is called free energy is less than 0. If delta G is greater than 0, it will be non-spontaneous process. Non-spontaneous process. And if delta G is equal to 0, then the process is at equilibrium. What is the meaning of equilibrium? It means that both the reactions are happening equally fast. Basically, you can have A plus B gives C plus D, right? So the forward reaction is happening at some rate, and the backward reaction is also happening at the equal rate. So it will look like A and B and C and D are not changing in concentration. That's not because nothing is happening. That's because both of the things are happening at the same rate. So
Yes.
at every moment, some amount of A and B is converting to C and D, but equal amounts of C and D are converting back to give equal amounts of A and B.
Yeah.
So the concentrations don't change, but actually both the forward and backward reactions are happening. Equilibrium is something that we'll look at in much more detail. We'll do the chapter on equilibrium, chapter 12, I think. So we'll do it properly at that time. So don't worry about it right now. Just understand that this equilibrium is a state of dynamic equilibrium, not static stuff. It's not like nothing is happening. Things are happening in both directions.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what you need to know. So if delta G is 0, what is the temperature at which equilibrium will happen? Delta H minus T delta S is equal to 0. So temperature is delta H by delta S. Right?
Yeah.
This is the temperature at which equilibrium will be obtained. Now, now what we need to understand here is that this explains a lot, in the sense that many reactions don't happen at room temperatures but start happening at a higher temperature, right?
Yeah.
There are many reactions that you can think of which don't happen at room temperature. So carbon plus hydrogen will not become methane at room temperature. Okay.
Yeah.
You will have to heat it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the reason that is happening is that the spontaneity or non-spontaneity of a reaction depends on the temperature. So at a particular low temperature, maybe enthalpy required was more. It was an endothermic reaction. Suppose delta H was 100, right?
Yeah.
And delta S was 25, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Then you have to have temperature greater than 4, no? 4 Kelvin. You understand? If temperature is less than 4 Kelvin, then the delta G is positive. Delta G is positive will not happen on its own. Okay. But if temperature is higher than 4 Kelvin, then immediately it will start happening on its own, right?
Yeah.
So basically, this tells us that some processes could be at equilibrium at a particular temperature, and below that temperature it will not be equilibrium, it will be non-spontaneous. And above that temperature it will be spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this basically takes into account all the factors that we have so far learned in this chapter, enthalpy and entropy, and tells you whether something will happen or not. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the conclusion of this chapter. So nothing more is there. You can measure each of these values at their standard state and all and get a standard value of the delta G, right?
Okay.
Delta H. Delta S, measuring delta S is a little hard. But in the chapter, in the questions on this problem, you will be given those values. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what we should do is do some questions of this chapter. So if you look at the exercises, I think there are total of 134, I think, right? 134 till 134 the questions are there. How much have you guys seen? Some
I've
questions you
done
had
only
tried
from
already.
like from motion I've tried. Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion
Even I did
sheet.
from motion sheets.
Yeah.
Okay. Which sheet?
This
Exercise
one.
one.
Yeah,
Exercise
one.
1 and all. Are you guys getting it?
Yeah, like some of them.
It's a bit hard, but yeah.
Bit hard, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, let's discuss a little bit. Let's go to that sheet. Let me just give me 2 minutes. Motion sheet might be hard. That's why first round you should do McMurray questions,
Okay.
Okay.
right? You cannot start
Yeah.
from motion, okay? You should start always from McMurray and finish that exercise, and after that see what is there. Okay.
Yeah.
So, 1 second. Let me just look at what is the sheet that you're seeing. Thermochemistry sheet I had shared, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the theory sheet, there are some new things also, like
what?
Mayer's formula and
I ignored all
Poisson
that bullshit,
ratio.
okay? Like generally, you know, the coaching sheets will have a lot of redundant stuff, okay? And those are things that are not important from the chemistry understanding point of view. Like when you're first learning the subject, you don't care about Mayer's formula right now, no? Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if the professors at Cornell University don't care, you should also not care. You understand?
Yeah.
The book McMurray is by actual professors who have Wikipedia pages on them. So you should care about what is there, and if you understand it, and let's finish as much of it as possible as fast, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about the
Yeah.
Mayer's formula and bullshit. Okay. Later, when you have done 1 or 2 rounds and when you're preparing for like the actual advanced and all, right? At that time, when you see something in the theory that is extra, that is needed, then we'll look at what sources are there and how we get those things sorted, right? If there is something missing, and if there is it is in NCERT and JEE syllabus, then we have to do it, right? But right now, don't bother about those things. So I will just look at the theory. 1 second. Specific heat capacity, molar Mayer's formula, Cp minus Cv is R. Okay, this is physics stuff too. This is thermodynamics in physics. So don't worry about that. Rules for thermochemical equation. That is that we have already discussed, basic stuff. We know how enthalpy is multiplied, depends on the coefficients and all, no?
Yeah.
Right? That basic stuff we have seen. Intensive and extensive properties, we know what they are. Enthalpy, intensive and extensive properties, you know, no? We discussed it briefly. We said that like temperature is an intensive property. It doesn't matter if you take 100 moles of gas as opposed to 1 mole of gas. Temperature is same.
Yeah.
Depends on an internal thing. It does not depend on how much of the thing is there. Right? But some properties like mass and all obviously depend on how much of it is there.
Yeah.
Then enthalpy definition he has done. Internal energy, U plus PV. Okay, this is fine. This we have already seen. Kirchhoff's equation. What is this weirdness? Enthalpy and temperature. Okay, you don't care about this. This has not been discussed so far, so you don't care about it. Heat of formation, that we have done, that we
Yeah.
have understood. Enthalpy at standard state, we have
Yeah.
understood. Then from the following data, find this type of questions we have seen, right?
Yeah.
Problems of
Yeah.
heat of formation and all, that's fine. Then bond energy, we have discussed this. Bonds broken minus bonds formed, that's correct, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Heat of
Yeah.
hydrogenation is just another reaction that he has called named it as heat of hydrogenation. So you take some alkenes
Yeah.
and alkynes, you add hydrogen, that is a reaction.
Yeah.
So that reaction's enthalpy is called heat of hydrogenation, right?
Yeah.
So nothing special,
Yeah.
it's just a name for a specific reaction, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. Some organic stuff here. This is stability of alkene is proportional to 1 by heat of hydrogenation is organic stuff. Don't worry about that. We'll do it in organic chemistry. Then heat of atomization. Heat of atomization is when 1 mole of any substance is converted to gaseous atoms, enthalpy change. Okay, so you're basically making solids into gases, right?
Yes.
So it's like sublimation basically, right?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
oh,
Okay.
sublimation is different. Heat of atomization is, basically from molecules to atoms, right?
Oh,
Basically,
okay.
it is like H2 becoming 2H.
Oh.
Oh. Yeah.
Atomization is H2 becoming 2H. Or solid sodium becoming gaseous sodium. But that sounds like sublimation. Okay. So sublimation will be solid to gas transition.
Yeah. That.
Yeah. Yeah.
Atomization will be breaking apart the molecular or the macroscopic structure and making it into individual atoms, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it will be endothermic. Both of them are endothermic, right?
Yeah.
Atomization and sublimation will be
Yeah.
endothermic.
Yeah.
Then resonance energy.
Resonance.
Energy difference between the resonance hybrid and the most stable structure. So basically, we saw resonance phenomena, right? Earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw that some CO3 2 minus molecule, right? When you draw the Lewis structure, it can have 3 alternative situations, right?
Yes. Yeah.
C double bond O or double bond in different places, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Actually, the situation is a mixture of these 3, right? The actual structure is a resonance hybrid where this double bond is delocalized over the whole molecule,
Oh.
Yeah.
right? So the actual structure is going to be lesser in energy than each of these structures, right? The real structure is the most stable structure, okay?
Yeah.
It's going to be at some energy level. The energy level of this particular structure will be somewhere higher,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And this gap,
Yeah.
this gap will be the heat of resonance energy.
Okay.
Now, this is again just a special case. It's not like it's some important thing, or there will be an energy gap. Otherwise, this would not have been the real structure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If this was the same structure as the actual structure, then that would be the final thing. No, then there will be no resonance, right?
Yeah.
When resonance is happening, you have 3 equivalent structures. So final structure is an average of all of them. If that is the final structure, it has lower energy than each of the individual structures. That gap is called resonance energy. Okay. Then don't worry about this resonance energy stuff right now. Calorimeter, heat of solution. Heat of solution is important. Heat of solution is amount of heat energy released when something dissolves, right? Something dissolves in water or some other solvent, right? So 1 mole of salt in excess of solvent. When you dissolve, how much energy is released? That is called enthalpy of solution or heat of solution, right?
Yeah.
So you take an excess amount of solvent. So why is this something dissolving in a solution, right? We had discussed this briefly, I think, earlier. Why something dissolves? Why some salt dissolves? There has to be a reason why it is breaking down its own crystalline structure and dissolving, right?
Yeah.
Suppose this is an NaCl crystal. Why will it dissolve? When it dissolves, it becomes Na plus and Cl minus. This looks like an endothermic process, no? And people are saying that it is exothermic. The definition is saying it is heat released, right?
Yeah.
But to break the lattice, it should be endothermic. So someone please explain this. How is this happening? Does it seem natural that it is exothermic? That doesn't seem right. Why will you, how can you break apart the lattice and still have an exothermic process, right?
Yeah.
The lattice was held strongly by electrostatic forces, right?
Yeah.
Na plus and Cl minus were attracted to each other and all.
It's because like the water molecules.
What will water do?
They pull the charged ions.
Okay. So it is because of the water molecules. It is because water is arranging itself around this. With a tiny negative charge on water is a polar solvent, right?
Yeah.
It is polar because there is a electronegativity difference between oxygen and hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
The oxygen is highly electronegative, so it has negative end and this is positive end, right?
Yeah.
So these water molecules come along all around the Na plus, right? And what happens is that the Na plus is surrounded by these negative ends.
Yeah.
Na plus is surrounded by the negative ends, which ensures that there is positive and negative charges are together, right? Just like
it does.
just like the Na plus here was around negative chlorine atoms, right? That this is also doing the same thing basically, right? But now there are a lot of water molecules there present, and this will nicely be, this is called hydration. This is reducing potential energy. Because positive and negative are coming together, right? So this is reducing potential. Similarly, there is hydration happening for Cl minus also. In this case, the H ends are coming closer. Right? So actually, in the crystal lattice, the amount of potential energy that was reduced because of this electrostatic thing, right? They were attracted, plus and minus were attracted and they were held together, right? So some energy is required to break that, but much more than that is released when this potential energy reduction happens. And this potential energy reduction happens. So basically, a substance dissolves only when its lattice energy is less than the heat of hydration. Heat of hydration is the amount of energy released when solvent molecules come around the ions, right, and hydrate it. So actually what happens is that in all salts that dissolve, the ions are not isolated ions. They are surrounded by water molecules. They're always hydrated ions. Like you should write like this. You should write Na plus H2O X.
Mm.
We don't know how many H2Os are there, but
Yeah.
they are all
Yeah.
surrounding. And similarly, Cl minus H2OY.
Mm.
So if you have heat of hydration is greater than the lattice energy, then the amount of energy liberated in this process is more than the amount of
yeah.
energy required to break the lattice, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
then there is an overall reduction in energy.
Yeah.
So that's why something dissolves,
Yeah.
right? Also,
Yeah.
dissolving will actually favor, it is favored by entropy, right?
Yeah.
So delta
Yeah.
G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Definitely entropy is positive for this process.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is cross this delta H barrier.
Mm. Yeah.
And sometimes delta H is negative. It is exothermic if this happens, right?
Yeah.
Then definitely the whole delta G is negative, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes delta H could be positive and still substance dissolves.
Yeah.
Could be positive. Maybe heat of hydration was not sufficient for overcoming the lattice energy, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
And still substance could dissolve because this entropy change is and at a particular temperature, T delta S, could be more than enough to cancel the delta H.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why you see that sometimes solubility changes the temperature, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So salts and all, if you raise the temperature, maybe more salt you can dissolve,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
You understand? At different temperatures, solubility is also different.
Yes.
So actually, if you want to decide whether something happens or not, free energy is your main guideline.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other things are there, but free energy is the ultimate thing. Finally, if delta G is negative, it will happen. If delta G is positive, it will not happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that is this heat of solution and all. Let's go ahead. What is there in this? Integral heat of solution, 1 mole. Okay. And whatever. That is just random terms. Heat of dilution. Heat of dilution, what is it saying? Don't worry about these things. Any
Okay.
arbitrary stuff that you don't see in normal textbooks, you don't have to worry about.
Mm.
Okay. Okay.
The good textbooks are McMurray Fay, and there is that Atkins textbook also that is slightly more advanced.
Okay.
So in that Atkins textbook, if it is not there, then you should definitely ignore it.
Mm.
Okay.
So, should we buy the Atkins book?
You don't have to buy it. I've sent the PDF. No,
Oh, okay.
I've sent the PDF of that Atkins book where we saw 1 or 2 sections of atomic structure, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Remember that quantum section we were seeing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right?
Wait, I don't think I have it.
I mean, you can download it
Sir,
very
please send it
easily.
again.
I will send it
Yeah.
again, but you can download it again
Oh,
from
yeah, I
LibGen.
can. Yeah, yeah.
LibGen, just
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to LibGen and search for Atkins, Polar Atkins. You will get
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do
physical
that.
chemistry book. Okay.
Yeah.
So download
Yeah.
it and keep that as a reference guide. So anything that is not in that book is definitely way beyond your syllabus. Okay.
Mm.
So
Okay, sir.
if you want to read, you should read McMurray Fay as a basic textbook and refer to that book as your advanced textbook.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So heat of neutralization is when some amount of acid is going to neutralize some amount of base. So here they are talking about gram equivalents, but you should think of it in terms of mole, per mole. 1 mole of acid and 1 mole of base, right?
Yeah.
When you refer to this as gram equivalent, what he means is if HCl is there, then it will react with 1 mole of NaOH, no, 1 mole of HCl.
Mm.
Correct. On the
Yeah.
other hand,
Yeah.
H2SO4 will react with 2 moles of NaOH, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
basically, this equivalent concept is the idea that how much of that, what is the ratio in which the reactants react, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So one equivalent of one equivalent of HCl is same as one equivalent of NaOH, 1 mole. But
Yeah.
one equivalent of H2SO4 is worth 2 moles of NaOH, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So that kind of thing. So don't worry about the equivalent concept. Again, that is also an idea that is very old and is not useful. So
Mm.
equivalent concept, when people start worrying about, they have to think of things like N factor and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has this been done in your Allen class?
No.
Equivalents and all? Not yet.
No.
No. Still.
Okay. Okay. But when it will be done, you will have to memorize some stuff. And I
Okay.
recommend not stressing out about it. You should know a basic few things and all, but
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know something and you feel like how will I solve this and all, think of moles. The normal method is using moles and writing balanced equations. Okay.
Yeah.
The method that has been
Okay.
shown in this book, they have not mentioned equivalents and all ever,
Okay.
right? So
Hmm.
actually the
Yeah.
modern method is not using equivalents. So that is something that you can ignore right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you go down, Born-Haber cycle we have seen already. Nothing else is there in the theory. Theoretically, thermochemistry is this much only. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't want you to. I mean, you should definitely try exercise 1 and all. If there's any doubts, you can ask me right now. Is there any
Yeah.
doubts?
Yeah.
Tell me.
One second. Question 14.
Which one?
Wait.
1 4.
Yeah, 14 in exercise 1.
Okay, 1 second. 14 in exercise 1. The standard molar enthalpy of formation, right? This one.
Yeah.
Of cyclohexane and benzene. Molar enthalpy of formation. Okay, heat of formation are given. And this. The standard enthalpy of hydrogenation of cyclohexane is this. Okay. Hydrogenation of cyclohexane. Okay. That is weird. Magnitude of resonance energy. How will
Yeah,
cyclohexane
how do
get
you
hydrogenated?
hydrogen cyclohexane?
Something is wrong because you cannot hydrogenate cyclohexane. You should be saying
Yeah.
hydrogenation of benzene.
Or are they saying like hydrogenation to cyclohexane?
I think they are referring to it as benzene hydrogenation. Oh yeah, that is the
Oh,
mistake. Okay.
okay.
Like obviously benzene is C6H6. Okay.
Yeah.
Benzene looks like actually 3 double bonds, right? This is C6H6. There are 6 carbons
Yeah.
and
So,
each of them has 1 hydrogen.
yeah.
So if you hydrogenate, you will hydrogenate this, right?
Yeah.
And this will become C6H12. This is cyclohexane.
Yeah.
All the double bonds will disappear and now everyone will have 2 hydrogens,
Yeah.
right? So I think the question is slightly wrong. They refer to this as the actual energy.
Mm-hmm.
This is the energy of hydrogenation. You will give hydrogens to this and that is the energy released in that process.
Yeah.
Okay.
After that, you can find stuff. No? So this reaction's enthalpy has been given.
Yeah.
So then you can find the individual stuff from by writing enthalpy total will be equal to heat of formation of products minus reactants,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is the basic rule. So this particular reaction is called a hydrogenation reaction and its value of enthalpy is given. After that, you find the rest. Okay. Any other questions?
In question 17, the Kirchhoff's equation is there. So
You can ignore that. Right
Yeah.
now, we have not
yeah.
done it. So don't worry about it. Thermodynamics,
Yeah.
when we
Okay.
do in physics, no, after that, all of this will be clear. So,
22nd one also.
but 22nd one, heat of vaporization, heat of formation, heat of 22nd one. Okay, specific heat. Specific heat of iodine in vapor and solid state are this and this. Okay. If the heat of sublimation is this, then heat of sublimation of I2, heat of sublimation of iodine at 200 is this, and heat of sublimation at 250 is what? Okay. And
Let's see the
specific
second
heat
one.
and all is given. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is specific heat not given? Let's think. Okay, so here so delta H was what? Delta U plus P delta V, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So you are given enthalpy of something, right? Enthalpy at some temperature and another temperature, right? Heat of sublimation.
Sublimation.
Okay, so sublimation. So I2 solid gives.
No, it's just iodine. Okay, wait. Yeah.
This is sublimation, no?
Yeah.
I2
Yeah,
solid
I too.
gives
Yeah.
I2 gas, right?
Hmm.
So this sublimation, heat of sublimation is given at two different temperatures, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Uh, they are looking for a relation between the heat of sublimation at two temperatures, right? So I think this is again CP/CV stuff, the physics part that you have not yet done.
Oh.
Because relation between CP, what is CP? Del Q at constant pressure. Okay. So okay, this is also thermodynamics, dude. This is not something that we have done yet. So ignore this because you have to write it
Yeah.
as NCP delta T, heat released in this reaction. So basically what happens no, in thermodynamics is that in any process, right, if any body accepts some heat, its temperature will change, right?
Yeah.
So basically there is a specific heat associated with every body, right?
Yeah.
There is a specific heat associated with every body. Now for solids and liquids, there is no problem, okay? Because if you give some amount of heat, the temperature will rise by some amount, right?
Yeah.
And you can define something called a specific heat, and you say this Q is equal to, in lower classes, you would have seen MS delta T, right? This is specific heat. This is mass, and this is change in temperature, right? And this is total heat required and all, right?
Yeah.
You have seen this recently also, I think, in this chapter only, somewhere. Calorimeter and all, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So for solids and liquids, there is no issue. But for gases, there is a slight problem because in gases, it depends the delta T and the Q. It depends on how the heat is, how the process is done.
Okay.
Why? Because delta Q is equal to delta U plus work done, right? So we had learned that heat absorbed will be equal to change in internal energy plus work done, no?
Yeah.
This we had seen earlier, right?
Yeah.
This was conservation of energy, right?
Yeah.
But now suppose you raise the temperature, suppose you supply heat, to a gas, right here. Okay, supply some Q heat. Now there is a movable piston, light movable piston. Its volume can change, right?
Yeah.
Suppose it goes from here to here, right?
Yeah.
Then Q amount of heat was given and temperature changed by delta T1, right? So you can say that temperature change is going to be proportional to the delta U1, right?
Yeah.
Internal energy change is dependent on temperature change, right?
Yeah.
So this Q that you supplied was used in two things. One thing was
Work.
raising the temperature and one thing was doing some work, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not all of the Q will show up as a change in temperature, no? Correct?
Yeah.
Like whatever heat you supply, it's not like everything was used up to raise the temperature, right?
Yeah.
Some part of it went into doing the work, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if I had done the same experiment in a fixed volume vessel, right?
Then
This is at constant pressure,
yeah.
right? And this is at constant volume. If I had done the same experiment at a fixed volume vessel, right? Constant volume, then
Yeah.
what would have happened was that work done would have been zero.
Yeah.
All the delta Q would have gone into increasing the temperature, right?
Temperature. Yeah.
So that would increase by a more amount, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you would see a higher increase in temperature, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So this delta T2 would have been higher and delta T1 would have been lower. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So remember that now. So what we have learned is for a gas at constant pressure, you supplied Q heat and temperature change that you saw was delta T1, right?
Yeah.
And at constant volume, you applied Q heat and temperature change that you saw was delta T2, right?
Yeah.
And now we have realized that delta T2 should be greater than delta T1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all the heat here was used up in this, right? But here some part of it went in doing work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. So now remember how we had defined specific heat. Specific heat is amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of something or kg of something by 1 degree centigrade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is in lower classes, this is how you define. In chemistry, you define something called molar specific heat. So which is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of the substance by 1 degree centigrade.
Yeah.
Right? Now for a gas, right now I have seen two different ways of supplying heat and seeing temperature change, right?
Yeah.
Right? If I do the process at constant volume, right? Constant volume, right? I will get Q by T2, right?
Yeah.
T2. Yeah.
Should be for 1 mole, right? Should be
Yeah.
the CV, right? But if I do it at constant pressure, I would get Q by T1, correct?
Yeah.
And T1 and T2 are different and T2 is greater than T1. So CV is less than CP.
Yeah.
So you are getting two different C's, no?
Yeah.
But this was not the case for solids and liquids, because solids and liquids are assumed to be incompressible. Like you cannot change the volume. No work is done when heat is supplied. It's not like solid becomes bigger, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it does, but very little, right?
Yeah.
You understand? Very little. Very little volume change happens when you supply heat, right? So actually, delta W is always zero in solids and liquids, right?
Yeah.
So delta U is always equal to delta Q, almost.
Yeah.
So only one temperature change will be seen if you supply heat, right? So there will be only one specific heat for solids and liquids.
Okay.
One specific heat for solids and liquids, but many possible specific heats for
Gases.
gases.
Yeah.
Because, and also notice that these two processes are just examples, and these are like extreme examples, constant pressure or constant volume, right?
Yeah.
These are at two ends of a spectrum,
Yeah.
right? You could have processes which are in the middle. Maybe
Yeah.
PV square is constant. A process in which pressure and volume are changing according to a certain specific relation. PV square is always constant, right?
Yeah.
Or PV 3 is constant, whatever, some weird process, right?
Yeah.
So there are an infinite amount of different ways of processes in which you can do that a change, right?
Yeah.
Correct? And for each of those processes, delta Q and delta T will be different, right?
Yeah.
And therefore the heat capacities will be different, right?
Yeah.
So for gases, there are actually many different heat capacities. And sometimes we only measure generally two of the heat capacities, one at constant pressure, one at constant volume.
Yeah.
Volume.
So we call it CP and CV.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
and CP is greater than CV because of the reason that we just saw.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
CP minus CV turns out to be equal to R. We will see all this later, how it comes, right? But for now, you understand that this is the meaning. Okay. So this particular question that you are asking, I think it uses those ideas only. So right now, we don't need to worry about it. But in physics, when we do it, we'll discuss this in much more detail and we'll be fine. Okay.
Okay.
So right now, don't stress about that so much. Okay, so any other question? Any thermochemistry question using topics that are there in what we have discussed?
I'm not sure, but the 11th question, the cis and trans.
Okay, again, that is organic chemistry. You don't know, right?
Okay,
so that is why don't do it right now so much. Do McMurray first, dude. It will not use any ideas that you have not learned. Okay. In the McMurray book. Okay.
Yeah.
So solve all the questions there. Cis and trans you don't know right now. We'll do organic. It's an organic chemistry idea. Isomerism.
Yeah.
So when we do organic, you will quickly understand that. So don't worry about this exercise right now. It is clearly having many things which are not there right now. You're not studying it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
sir. Yeah.
Focus on making sure that every question in McMurray you can solve. If you can solve that, 70-80% of your job is done.
Okay.
After that, in the second round, when we know more chemistry, you will be able to figure out the rest of the stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, just focus on this McMurray book. Try these questions. Okay.
Okay, sir.
130 or so questions are there. You can start from the last few questions and see if you're getting those. Like around 110, 120, 12 onwards, you can start the chapter problems and so on.
Yeah.
Chapter problems till the end, right?
Yeah.
I think these will be nice questions and you'll get a practice of all the ideas that we have seen. So if you have not tried it yet, start from the chapter problems and try to see if you know everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Sir. Yeah.
And that's the theory of this chapter. What we will do next is gas laws, chapter 9.
Okay.
Next week onwards, we are starting gas laws. So that is going to be much more interesting. thermodynamics, make sure that you do the multi-concept and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
We will go ahead. We'll go gas laws, and now we are getting into the main physical chemistry chapters. We have like time till we discussed one day. No, we have time till like the October end or November sometime. October end or November mid, maybe till then to finish till chapter, hopefully till chapter 14, 15.
Okay.
It might be difficult though, but we'll try. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe November end also is fine. November end. 2 months we have, September or 3 months we have. Okay. Then we'll do it.
Yeah.
Chapter 16 till chapter 16 ionic equilibrium I want to finish.
Okay.
Okay. And then we can move on to other things. Then we'll start organic actually. So just finish off the problems, and why don't you also read and come a little bit. Gaseous state, chapter 9. Okay.
Okay.
Read as much as you can and come to the next class.
Yeah.
Okay. And we will start gaseous state next class. Gaseous state is a very easy chapter, so we'll be able to quickly do it. Maximum 2 classes it will take. So read and come, and be prepared and come already, and we'll finish it in 2 weeks. Okay. That's all for now. We'll continue next class. I'm feeling a little sick. We'll continue next class.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start from this. Just make sure that you have all your doubts and all that are in thermochemistry. Let's sort them out also. Get ready with the McMurray questions. Don't worry about the motion book right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
That's it for now then.
Bye.
Bye, sir.